Welcome back to part 6 of the DIY Squaredrop build. This is all about the walls. So the way I'm going to construct my walls is the Tony Latham style, which is a sandwich wall. And that consists of, for me, 1/4 inch plywood outer wall, 1/4 inch plywood inner wall, and 3/4 inch in between that is all gutted out for with insulation. So this video, I mean, when I first put it together, I realized that it's basically all just cutting, and I went from my normal like 9 or 13 times speed, which I do for most of my videos, to I upped it up to 20 because this was over 20 minutes long, just cutting out these holes for all of the walls. So I cut that down to whatever this is going to end up being. I think it's like 14 minutes or something like that. And essentially, this whole video is cutting out all the voids. So each wall consists of those 3 sets of plywood, like I mentioned, and then each of those obviously has the door cut open. Also, just to note right there, you saw me use a drill to make little holes in the end. That is not the play. That was the only time I did it, and I did not do it again. This is one of the inner walls, so it's the 3/4 inch plywood. So here you can see I am using the template to I never cut the holes in the template for the insulation, so I went ahead and did that here with the 3/4 inch underneath, because I want my template to be with all the voids in it, because if I make another one in the future, I'll have that as a reference. But also, when I go to start drilling through the walls to mount things like a coat hanger or mount my shelves, things like that, I can see exactly where all the insulation voids are, and I've taken those things into account with where my insulation is. The only kind of worried spot is this one here, because this is going to be the internal shelf is going to be right here. I may just extend the shelf down or extend it really wide, to deep, so that I can attach it to that spot between that big door void and that piece of insulation against the wall. So here, as I said, I'm cutting out the template as well as at the same time the 3/4 inch sandwich wall. And the purpose of this wall is to be very rigid. So, with 3/4 and 2/4 plywoods, that's 1.25 inch thick walls, which is pretty thick. And it'll be very sturdy. And I'm really not worried about the sturdiness of this, because I'll have the bulkhead as well in between the main cabin where you sleep and the kitchen area in the back. There'll be a 3/4 inch thick piece of plywood that will have dado grooves in the walls for it to slide into. So I'm really not worried about structure. The roof in the front and the back will also be 2 inches thick. Potentially not the galley hatch door, but the front wall and the roof will both be 2 inches thick. Because there's going to be over 2 inches thick, because there's going to be a 2-inch insulation in it as well. So, as I mentioned, this, this front area, you can see that there's a slot there that I'm not cutting through, and that is because there's going to be a shelf there, and I want something sturdy for it to screw into. It's definitely not going to hold a lot of weight, like it'll hold a CPAP machine and our phones and any other small thing, but it'll come out, just about a foot from the front wall over our heads. So I wanted insulation up front, and I wanted it in the back, and then, as you'll see later, I decided to add additional insulation in the galley. I went through Tony's book again, and I saw that he had voids there as well. So I measured out like how tall my cooler is and how tall my oven stove combo is, and my countertop in the back will sit at a height about 3/4 of an inch above the tallest thing that'll be in the galley, including space for them to be on the roller, not rollers, but the drawer slides. So I ended up adding in insulation in the back galley as well. In a little bit, you'll see that I got some company. My buddy Brian, he came over to help, and I'm telling you, when you have a second pair of hands, things go a lot faster. This entire video is Saturday for about 5 hours by myself, and then Sunday for about 6 hours, working with Brian for most of that. So, thank you so much, Brian, if you're watching. Your help was invaluable, and it made things go a hell of a lot faster. So here you can see I took out 2 of the 1/4 inch plywoods that'll be the inner walls, and I'm doing those together. And I wanted to be very precise with my doors because these pieces will actually be the door as well on the inside. So I'm measuring very carefully. I made my lines really straight on these. The 3/4 inch ones, it's fine. They don't have to be perfect, but these are actually going to be part of the door. So I wanted to make sure that I lined up everything perfectly and everything's good. And you can see that, you know, there's not a lot of space between the floor, which is at the bottom of this piece of plywood, and the door. And that's because if you're sitting inside with your feet out, like you're, you know, using basically your cabin as a chair, or even when you're getting in and out, if the plywood comes up too high, then all you're gonna have is a really annoying feeling on your legs, because the door jamb is going to be just screwing into your legs, and that's going to hurt. And so that's why I decided to make it low, and that was on the recommendation of a lot of people on the Teardrop forums, as well as in Tony's book. So our mattress is probably going to be about 7 inches tall. It'll be like 4 inches of regular mattress and then 3 inches of memory foam. So it'll sit well above. Even when you're sitting on it, you won't, your legs will not hit the bottom. So this is the outside, the 2 outside walls that I'm cutting together. And you can see there's actually more room at the bottom there, because this will sit outside of the floor. So, you know, as I mentioned previously, it's 2 1/4 inch plywoods with a 3/4 inch in between. But this outside wall will actually, so the 2 inner pieces, the 3/4 inch and the 1/4 inch inside, will be sitting on the floor, and then this piece, these 2 pieces here, will be sitting on the outside, and that is to protect your floor from all the rain and everything that will be, you know, coming down and potentially trying to get into or underneath your floor. So this, you know, this piece will sit on the frame itself, and it's just good practice to have that, so that the water can't get in it. Brian decided he wanted to be the saw guy for the day, so he was using the Japanese pull saw, which I love very much. If you don't have one, you should definitely get one. It has small teeth in it and big teeth, or one side has small, one side has big, and it's for hardwood or softwood, depending on which one you're using is the teeth you use. It's very awesome. So this is actually the 3/4 inch piece that we're getting all the insulation out of. I mistakenly said earlier that this was the 2 outdoor pieces for the walls. But this is actually a 3/4 inch, one of the other ones that we're cutting all of the insulation points out. Overall, it's been really fun, honestly, building this thing. It is a lot of work, and I did not think the walls were going to take this long. And by the end of the video, like, there's going to be probably at least 1, if not 2 more videos of us putting the floors together. But now that everything's all cut, I think there's probably just one more video when it comes to the walls. In Tony's book, he suggests doing the fiberglassing before you even put it up, but because of the way I want to fiberglass it, I think that I'm going to fiberglass it after these walls are mounted. But we'll see. You know, I'm being pretty fluid with this build. You know, I've done tons of research, watched hours and hours and hours and hours of people building their own. As you can see here, this is where I decided to put some insulation in the galley, and we put the 3/4 piece that we cut them out in on top of the other one and drew the lines. So now we're cutting out the voids for the insulation in the galley. If you're curious about this straight edge that I'm using, it's part of the best fence, fast cap best fence system, and it's actually for my miter saw, which when the workbench isn't flat like it is now, I can lift up my miter saw, which you may have seen in previous videos where I'm cutting stuff out. And it's got 2 pieces, one on each side of the miter saw station to keep things level. And you know, I was looking at straight edges, and I'm like, I need to buy one, but like the ones that are 10 feet long, like this cabin is, or like this Squaredrop is, it's just ridiculously expensive. So I just used the one that I already had, because that was also expensive, but you know, it's a dual purpose. So we're getting in the insulation now. We're cutting it out and sticking the pieces in. Some were certainly a lot harder than the others to fit in there, but in the end we got it all in there, and we sanded down one side before we put the inside wall on this to attach it. Towards the end of this video, you'll notice that my camera died, and I did not hear the beeping, but it died as we were clamping everything down after we put all the wood glue to put these 2 pieces together. But yeah, for now we're just finishing up this insulation. Alright, so here we're sanding it down on one side, making sure that everything is perfectly flat before we put the inside wall on top. This is going to be the left hand, or the left side, so that would be the driver's side wall. Vacuuming up all the foam, little pieces, and then using the air compressor to get all of the debris off before we start putting on that glue. Unfortunately, I could not find my, what do you call them? The scrapers that like painters use to, not painters, but like to fill voids in walls and drywall and stuff. I can't think of the name on it right now. But we only had these 2 little brushes that are like silicone brushes for smaller paint jobs. That's all we had. So we went around and spread out the glue as best we could to make sure there was full coverage across everything, because I really want a tight seal. And you know, glue, the wood will break apart before the glue joints, you know, come undone. So thanks to Brian, you know, this was a breeze. We just went around and you know, hurt our wrists by doing that. So as you can see here, we put it on, and I slowed it down here to show you that we had a bunch of stuff on top of it. I also had clamps all around it, and the camera had died and I didn't realize it. So this is all you get for what it looks like when all the weight is. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.